Vidéo surprise, c'était pas prévu, ça s'est fait un petit peu dans l'improvisation, mais j'ai eu une discussion avec Beniamin Mincu et avec Kevin Lallement. Certains d'entre vous ont peut-être vu passer un tweet de Beniamin sur X qui voulait parler avec quelqu'un, un représentant de la communauté française de MultiversX. J'ai accepté et on a donc improvisé cette conversation. J'ai fait au mieux pour relever et faire remonter les points d'intérêt de la communauté et les différents questionnements pour pouvoir en discuter lors d'un call avec Beniamin et Kevin. Du coup, on a abordé différents thèmes comme celui des VC, des levées de fonds, de la nouvelle proposition d'économie pour le GLD. Évidemment, on a parlé des États-Unis, on a parlé de ce qui peut faire de la croissance pour l'écosystème MultiversX, on a parlé des incentives, on a parlé de X-Monnaie, et on a même un petit peu abordé le sujet des deux X-Monnaie, vous savez bien. J'espère que vous apprécierez. Il y a des sous-titres pour ceux qui parlent pas anglais. Moi-même, j'ai dû m'y mettre. Donc, n'hésitez pas vraiment cette fois-ci à mettre un like. C'est vrai que c'est une vidéo assez particulière. C'est pas quelque chose d'habituel pour moi non plus de faire ce type de format. Alors, n'hésitez pas aussi à dire ce que vous en pensez. Ceux qui ne connaissaient pas encore ma chaîne ou qui n'étaient pas abonnés, vous pouvez le faire. Vous pouvez aussi activer les notifications. Peut-être qu'il y aura aussi des non-francophones qui vont tomber sur ma chaîne du coup. Eh bien, sachez que pour chacune de mes vidéos, il y a maintenant une version anglaise. Et là, même la version française, elle a parlé anglais.
J'investis dans les cryptos pour être riche dans le futur. Paire de couilles dans le futal, ainsi soit-il. Mon bitcoin est mon couteau.
So, we start?
Yes.
Welcome, both of you. I will present, of course, everybody know Beniamin Mincu, the founder of MultiversX. And Kevin is a builder, a validator, a member of the community. He built some tools for the ecosystem. And I think your point of view could be relevant about the EGLD proposal economic because you are a validator. So the purpose of this discussion is about what is going on, maybe particularly on the US side, because in few weeks we will start the first Foundry session, and I think it's a kind of community town hall, but about United States, because we know that MultiversX want to be there and establish, plant the flag, but for now we don't know how. We know you go often in United States tomorrow again, but we don't know exactly what you are doing, and the community want to have more visibility and know what will going on. So if you have few words on the Foundry sessions, maybe.
Yes. So first of all, really great to have this conversation, and I salute the French community. I think one big lesson almost that prefaces the entire conversation is I've learned how different a language everyone speaks, like the English community, the Romanian community, the French community. And whenever you just speak one language, you usually lose part of the community on the way. So this is just a much more intentional conversation that tries to come and meet the French community where they are, with some of their ideas, questions, and so on. So it's great to have this with you, and especially with you, Nicola. Nicola or Nikolai?
Nicola.
Nicola. Okay. to not give you a new name. It's great to have this with you also because you've been for quite some time, not only active, but there to translate for the people what some of the news means, what some of the ideas are, and so on. So very much appreciate that type of interaction. Now, coming to the US part, I think it's almost important to set a bit the context for why the US seems like a great idea. Because when you look around in Europe, all you see is that people generally are not excited about Europe. They're not excited about the different countries, how the economy grows, how the technology is adopted, and so on. And I think US tries and strives hard to offer a kind of capital of the world when it comes to technology, innovation, business, and so on. So this is why we've been spending all this time in the US. And so the question is, what do you do when you want to move to the US, when you want to establish a company? What are the steps? And for whatever you're trying to do, I was joking sort of inside that you first need to crawl, then you need to walk, and then you need to run. You cannot start running before you've learned to crawl and to walk. And so US, whereas in Europe, we've had all this footprint, discussions with the regulators, people know us in several countries, ministers of several countries have been in close interaction with us. US is a completely new ground. First and foremost, you want to see how does the US work? Who are the people that are relevant, and who are the people that just say that they are relevant but actually cannot provide anything? Secondly, how is the regulation? Because the regulation, for instance, 6 months ago with the regulation 3 months ago and the regulation right now is in a very, very different situation. It's in a great position right now from a regulatory standpoint.
Genius Act, for example?
Yes, exactly. The Genius Act that has gone in full activation mode. Now, keep in mind that even for that, there's some specifics that are going to come during the next few months that are drafted right now, because the law has been accepted, but there's a kind of feedback loop that's coming during the next months. And then the Clarity Act is in some sense even more important, because it extends the interactions of crypto, blockchains, and so on beyond stablecoins, beyond the specifics related to stablecoins. But coming to the point where we are right now, the US Foundry session should be a moment where we bring things together and say, in preparation for the supernova, which is this massive event we have for the network, what do we do in the US to make sure that people really hear about this technology, tap into it and use it? And to do this, of course, VibeOX is one tool. The economics just provides the incentives for people to look and do something and build something. But the US sort of resets the conversation, because the definition of insanity is, in some sense, to do the same thing over and over and over again and expect different results. So we're changing some things, and this is why we're going to the US.
What kind of things you will change? For example,
one of the most important that we're changing is we are not targeting the same people, the same builders, the same capital that Europe doesn't have, right? That is the biggest thing. In US, there is a different category of builders, a different category of investors, a different category of capital, and those are finally in place, because up until this point, they were not ready to move, to enter, to do this massive game that you can now see even on the stock market. So this is one of the things that's changing.
The difference is at which level to convince them to invest capitals, for example. It's easier, or you talked by the past more than 1 year ago for French media, Crypto Daily, about VCs, and there was discussions. And also you talked in a space about BlackRock and Grayscale at a point. The discussion what's the stage of the discussion
now with capitals, VCs, the fundraising.
So I think the BlackRock and Grayscale may be confused with Lucian, where he was discussing specifically about this. But what I can say is specifically on BlackRock and Grayscale, you've seen that they've moved forward, especially Grayscale when it comes to ETFs, with many ETFs, and they're on the forefront. So what you can see is, first and foremost, there is appetite. In Europe, you don't have this type of VCs, with exceptions. You almost have one or two that are a bit more crypto, leaning into crypto, but there is no appetite. Having the appetite is crucial, because if no one has the appetite, you don't have a market. Now, having the appetite doesn't mean that, hey, someone will wait for you and will just take your product and then you're all fine. No, you have to have hundreds of conversations until one fits. You fit his profile, he fits your profile. And so if I were to mention all the different, let's say, VCs with which I've had conversations, then people would say, yes, but you mentioned this name and you mentioned this other name. Sure, but the point is, what I've done is I understand that I need to have hundreds of conversations to get to the point where one, two say, yes, this is perfect. We want actually in, and this is the right moment. Because for each of these people, let's say some of them invest only in plus $10 billion companies. Some of them invest at a different moment in time. Some of them do not deploy capital at this point. So it's a process where with every conversation, just as I was mentioning that with the French community, we need to discuss and approach them how they think. With the institutionals or with the VCs, it's a completely different language. You don't discuss about, let's say, your things. You're discussing, okay, so where are you in the point of joining the markets right now? What type of capital do you have to deploy? And what type of projects are you looking at? What is the most important use case that you care about? And so once you go through this, you see, does this person fit? Does this investor fit? If they do, then you have a good potential conversation to begin with.
So some of them said they are in, some of the VCs, or
we do have a few that have said they're in, and we take these things sort of to the point where we need to get a checkpoint so that we close the round. So we're probably, I feel every time I say we're probably close, and we're getting to this point where I explain a bit the context. It always then also resets a bit. So we've had conversations where for 6 months we have some VCs that are ready to jump. Then we said, okay, now let's go a bit further and find also some very, very well-connected VCs in the US. And that's a very different conversation, because those think different, look different. And whenever we start a conversation, just to give you this context. So I've had a friend with which I think we speak, we know each other for more than 1-2 years in the US. And then before starting doing business, he almost had a detective going through everything that was happening in Europe. All my backgrounds, all my information, all the information from MultiversX, everything. And this is how the US think, right? When you go and start, you have this idea that, hey, everyone knows you. No, you go and there you're from scratch again. And people need to see you, to gain trust in you, to research you. And this is fine, because this is how you build something. So I think maybe this paints a bit of picture of how does the investment happen? How does the partnership happen? What is the time spent on? Well, it's spent on tens and tens and tens of meetings, out of which you maybe get 2 or 3 that finally click and connect, and then you move forward with those.
Okay. So maybe good news.
I see you're super excited. Are you this super excited all the time?
I'm kind of excited about a lot of things of MultiversX because I'm here since maybe 5 years, taking place with builders. I do have some maybe question regarding the French community. We have builders, we have users, and builders often feels like they are how to say neglected, overlooked, you know. So sometimes we have seen pretty much a lot of time builders that do hesitate to build on MultiversX because some things did not work before, or it's not easy to...
About the support?
The support, yes, the support, the community. What would you say to builders? Why do they need to choose MultiversX over another blockchain now? Why should they start building on MultiversX if they are new? You know.
100%. I think this is a fair question. I think there's almost a seasonality to how builders flow into different ecosystems, and this is very natural. We usually want them to flow all the time to, let's say, our ecosystem or this other ecosystem, but there's a season, and the season has to do with psychology, with sentiment, with markets, and that is one of the ideas. Now, if I were to look at things and say, hey, what do actually best builders care about? There's a few things. One, with Supernova, this will be the most advanced, not only scalable, but then fast and really robust architecture, period. It's extraordinary with the previous milestones that we had. Now, Supernova is just a great crowning on top of that makes it great for builders. But in addition to that, I think something much more important is happening in the world, which is the death of the developer and the birth of the builder or creator. And builders will not be just these genius people that we have around, that we love, but those are very few. If you rely only on the genius people to build, then it takes you too much. With VibeOX and these AI tools, we make it so simple for anyone, like children, students, and so on, to want to build something for their own sake, not for the blockchain part, to make some money, whether that's an application that they want to make some money on, or to monetize their communities if maybe they're creators and so on. And I think this is the great shift that is happening in front of our eyes. And this is how we also escape this niche of just us stealing a few people from the other ecosystems, them stealing a few people from us, and then going outside and saying, hey, with this tool, anyone is able to build on blockchain. And so I feel there's, the way I was discussing it with someone in the US is I feel there's a chicken and egg problem. The chicken is you have the network now, you have the tooling, you have this great upgrade that is coming, and then VibeOX just simplifies things so that you can focus on whatever you want to build. And then, of course, there's some incentives, like how fast can you get to making some money, to creating some value. And I think that's the thing that starts a flywheel. It's very natural for people to, let's say, slide in and slide out. And I think with the new wave that we're unveiling, we're going to start a different kind of build-up, or a different cohort of builders that are fresh, that have not been for 5 years in the blockchain space, that just want to touch some users, want to deploy something. Because like if we sit just with the same builders, with the same people over and over again, it won't move us forward. So we're super excited about things, and I think this type of changes not only the game not only what we're offering to the builders, but who are the builders. And so it changes the distribution game for what can be built on MultiversX and so on. Hope that makes sense.
To have more adoptions, to have more users, we need more dApps, and to have more dApps, we need more builders. To have more builders, we need more users. So it's a complex problem, but to have more users and builders, I think we need to attract liquidity, because all the people looking for liquidity, more value and growth. And to have this growth, maybe we need incentives. And like you done it with MyExchange at the end of 2021, you attract a lot of liquidity, so with the incentives. But at this moment, the problem is there was no stablecoin and no interoperability, and the DeFi ecosystem was there was just the MyExchange. So it's capital to have stablecoins, native stablecoins, stablecoin of X money, maybe Circle or Tether, and this interoperability. And we have the DeFi now. So do you plan incentive like a few years ago, maybe?
Not like that, but in the same spirit. So I think we learned some very important lessons from MyExchange. There were some really good things that we've done there, and some things from which we can learn a lot. And certainly, if we look very, very concretely, I think the conversations that we had on Axelar, for instance, and just the context that we've offered on Axelar, still, until we get that close, believe it or not, I've said it that for the last 3-6 months, and then also before, but for the last 3-6 months, every 3 days, I ping the guys, what are we doing? Can we close this? Can we help you with something? And that goes until we finish. Even right now, for like I've said this, that since last week we had the conversation with them. Conversation went in many directions, like both positive and negative. It's very tricky to get even one partnership like this on, and this is very tricky while we've done everything from our end. Like we've paid money, we've done the integration, we have things ready. I could start and say, guys, I will complain about you everywhere, blah blah blah. But then what do I achieve, right? If I state that, what do I achieve? On the other hand, I can say to them, guys, I understand this is difficult. This is like, you don't like it, I don't like it. Let's get it across the line. Let's finalize it. I will help you with what I can. And believe it or not, since then, I still ping them every day. I wake up and say, hello, guys. Hope you're well and alive. Can we get this closed? Because otherwise it doesn't happen. So this is why when we discuss about something in this TikTok era, we're used to swiping up, down, whatever, and then it's done. Some things take 2 years, insane years.
What are the reasons of this lag? Do you think it's because it's a non-EVM?
Yes,
and
100%.
And maybe MultiversX had not enough adoption for them, or
no, it's not at all about adoption. It's simply it's non-EVM, And then since it's non-EVM, someone needs to learn the architecture. Someone cannot be on, let's say, NPC mode and say security. Security is the only thing that if you break in an interoperability solution, you're dead. You're not only yourself dead, you can make several ecosystems lose a lot of money just because someone breaches something here, hacks one ecosystem and then brings it to the other ecosystem and then to the other ecosystem and so on. So one, we understand that security is crucial. It takes time to do it right, and we value security extraordinarily. Second, if you have EVM compatibility, then it's very simple. They just copy-paste some stuff, don't need to reinvent it. If you don't have, then it takes them a lot of time. So we've done the stuff. Now, hopefully, it's not, everything can happen until they finally say it's done. So even what I'm telling you right now, it's still open-ended. We've had the conversation. It seems positive, but until I get a final date, I almost don't believe it, right? It's very close, but I want to get a final date because it's driving me crazy. And I understand it's driving everyone crazy, right? It's the most frustrating thing in the world, especially when you've done your part, right? If we would not have done our part, then it would have been, hey guys, we've not done this or this, but we have a contract, we've paid money, we've done our part, and now we're just helping them close this thing with everything they need. We're here to help because it will be good for them, good for us to finally get it out. So coming back to your question, we need an interoperability solution. Everything depends on that. After you have an interoperability solution, you need incentives because liquidity, stable coins, all of that come with incentives. Now, usually people, I don't think, have this this idea of what prices people pay and are charged for even a stablecoin integration. And I'm going to throw just one example. The stablecoin that the Trump team, Eric and the Trump family has, I'm just sharing proactively, and this needs to be taken with a grain of salt. Has a price of integration of 100 million, depending on who you are. Just to give you, imagine what we're discussing here. That's so insane that you basically, like, how do you do business in a market like that?
But so, it's because I think this native stablecoin bring the growth and the price of the growth. I'm not saying not, right? I'm saying it definitely brings. All I'm saying is I'm giving some context on how people do business in the US, right? What type of prices they charge, and this is why X-Money want to bring their own stablecoins.
Clearly, I mean, stablecoins are the most profitable business in the world right now. That's more profitable than SpaceX, Tesla, Amazon, Meta. That's crazy to state, right? So it's very important.
Just the beginning.
Yes, we're very, very early. So this is why also it tells you why X-Money, having taken the difficult path, the difficult route of building the licenses, building the regulatory clearance, doing the hard things while everyone was doing casinos and hype, why at some point this pays off, right? You just need to be alive and to be able to position yourself to have those relevant conversations. But that is the intention, and now it's also visible, right? With every new step that people are making in the stablecoin business, it just validates the category even more.
I have a question about stablecoins and license. I assume you are probably working on getting a backing license in the US, and but you are silent about it for now. maybe with the fundraising session, I don't know, maybe with the Clarity Act and the Genius Act could help in that regard. And I wonder, will the launch of X-Money stablecoins, IBANs, premium cards, etc. be simultaneous in the US and Europe?
It's very hard for me to, let's say, almost make any comment on this, because the silence, as you were stating, comes from the point where whatever I say can and will be used against me in some version or another by people with less good intention. But what I can say is this: X-Money has been making great progress with the regulators in Europe. The difficulty in launching a stablecoin is not the technology. We have the technology you can work, it's something you can control. Yes, and regulation is a dance that does not end in 1 month. Suppose that I give you everything you need. You don't speak this language. You'll say, gentlemen, excuse me, this is very risky, very dangerous. I'm not sure how I'll protect the users or people, and I need to get sure and comfortable that we will do this, that we will go through all the process, and I need to get very clear on how what you're telling me with stablecoins becomes equivalent to what I had in the market before, right? What's the equivalence that I can say for this? I can do for, let's say, what happens if someone scams someone? What happens if someone doesn't want the product and they've been paying with stablecoins? And there's this kind of policies, procedures, and conflict resolution mechanisms that people have built for tens and tens of years with money. And they work for the analog money that they've been using. Now, with this new digital money, they need these procedures to also work, because otherwise they will not allow you to make any kind of steps. And this is why the US is making the steps. And at the same time, the stable coins that have been launched usually are either in the US or completely outside of Europe. There are a few in Europe as well, but everything takes time on that front. And the timelines will probably be very different, varying on the local regulations that you have, because those are like regulators also speak different languages in Europe and different languages in the US, as you've probably seen with the announcements and so on.
So before in Europe or in US?
I mean, that will probably depend on the X-Money team, but okay. If I were to guess, let me frame it this way and not make it a kind of announcement or something. If I were to guess, by the progress that we have, it should definitely come in Europe first, right? Because in Europe, we have been providing everything to the regulators to have the conversations, to get comfortable, to help them understand and so on. And we almost urge the European institutions to seize this opportunity and use it, because we are ready to help them.
Okay. Maybe we can address another subject about the community sentiment, because it's something very important. And me personally, I don't like toxicity, and I don't want to be disrespectful.
Thank God.
I want to bring the right balance. I try to be objective, even with legitimate criticism. But I also feel obliged to address certain topics that are not necessarily pleasant, but because they represent a large part of the community sentiment.
Sure.
And there is a gap between certain promises, announcements that have raised hope at a point by the past, and the achievement deadlines. And there is a gap, and there is also the price of EGLD, which is not good. And
I think that's the most important point, almost, that's driving the sentiment.
Yes, on the sentiment. And it's on this ground that negativity had been able to grow slowly.
Sure.
And that negativity over the last months is growing because there is not a lot of achievement. But on the side of tech, there are not yet, but soon Supernova, Barnard, Andromeda. On the tech side, I think the community are happy of this achievement last month. But like you said, the price is more important for the people.
Mm-hmm.
And also, there is criticism about your communication, Beniamin, you know. Sometimes there is a gap also between your speech and the achievement for now. I don't know for the future. And so I saw a comment yesterday. It's a resume of this, less soon and more done. But I don't want to be stuck, to stay stuck in the past. I want to be constructive and look to the future. So in short, the community wants to see accomplishment that they will be proud to share in the future. And so what are your thoughts about it?
I also want to see more accomplishments in the future. And let me also state a few things. So the entire post that we've made last week, that I've translated specifically in both French and Romanian, was starting from this standpoint that one of the most important and simple questions is, how do we make ego grow? Because at the end of the day, what people are telling us, everything else are just symptoms, like almost superficial elements that you can say are a symptom of the underlying issue, which is ego has not grown as expected. This is what we want. This is why we're building the technology. This is something that we usually do not discuss too much about. But actually, that's the effect of a great product with some adoption that's moving in the right direction. So my point was, okay, let's look first, why has this happened? And I've outlined a few things. The key things that are outside of our control, but important to note, are macro tailwinds. Sometimes macro is 99%. You look like the biggest fool in the world or the biggest genius. You're neither, but the timing makes you seem like that. Mm-hmm. Second, regulatory and market structures. So if you have this three, you have full clearance for great growth. This we don't have in Europe. We've not had for years in Europe, and everything has been moving very slow. Second point has been the kind of unspoken things. We usually have always taken the integrity, clear path, the things that are the right to do, which is build a conversation with the regulators, get licenses, do the hard things for the use cases that really matter in the real world. But that has cost us a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of pains that we never anticipate would have taken 5 years. And then after 5 years, we're so close, but then still everything moves very, very frustratingly slow. And then last point I was mentioning, there are some things that are fully in our control, like new distribution channels, like use cases that bring real demand, and the speed with which we execute on those. And the lessons on those were, at first, we were the first ones to find ways to go outside of just the crypto space, outside of the Web3 space, with the launch of MyR, with what we've done early on. This was the point that made everything work in some sense so well. And then the other use cases, we've tried some new use cases. In some sense, those use cases, whether it's, for instance, X money and so on, were very, very difficult to move forward with the speed that we wanted. They're coming now on and they'll be very valuable, but it has taken too much time. For some other things, the timing was not at all right. Like the conversations that we had more than 1 year ago when we closed the chapter on, for instance, X worlds and so on, where we said we needed billions of dollars to actually build a world, and it would still not have been where the users needed to be. So once we go through those iterations, it's very important to understand that until you nail one use case that takes you completely to a different level, this is how it feels. It's painful, difficult, and so on. So the question with all these 3 points is, how do we change this? How do we change both the macro market structure, regulatory stuff? How do we change the use cases such that we don't just need to wait another 10 years for something to become reality? And then how do we change the distribution game such that what we deliver can be put in the hands of users much faster, can be used in some use cases that people understand today, not in 5 years, and then the technology gets the traction and momentum that we really need. And this is how we came to the US idea, because the US is a response to these painful problems that we've experienced and that we could not, some of them we could not even diagnose for a few years because we've not seen an alternative where things would have been better. And then even the US 6 months before, it was not what it is today. You would have been banned. You could have gone to jail. You could have had all these problems. So this brings us to the things that we believe change the game. What are those things? One, being present in the US and selling this technology in the US. Second, having a technology that is not only the most scalable in the world, decentralized and secure, but speed. Speed, we understand the market prices speed very, very, very much more than scalability, much more than almost anything else. And that is extremely important. Then, of course, how do we lower the barrier of people actually building on this? That's VibeOX. And then suppose we have this. We're in the US. We have this great technology that is one of the best in the world. And then we have a simple tool that puts this in the hands of people, simple people all over. How do we get started? And that's the point of incentives. To get capital, to get the eyeballs, to get the builders, people need the first step. And the first step is, suppose I have 1 million. I'm just taking it a bit into the conversation of incentives because I think that's an important point. The question is always this simple framing of a chicken and egg problem. What do you need? You cannot need everything in the same way at the same time. You need to start with something. So do you need the users to be there? Or do you need incentives so that someone starts to build? In other words, do you need liquidity on the network? Or do you need incentives to attract the liquidity on the network? And so this is why, in some sense, simplifying, what are the 3 actors that are most important for the network? There's investors. Investors need to deploy capital. Then you have liquidity. You have this entire flywheel on the network that really works. What do investors need? What do they care most about? Incentives. What's their incentive to move that million on top of the MultiversX network and not some other network? Second, builders. What do they need? Well, builders, in some sense, need what we were discussing before, the tools and so on, and everything is working and it's simple and faster. in some sense, if I were to compress all of that, is time to market. If there's a North Star for for builders, it's can I get the time to market so compressed that in one day I could actually build something and deploy it. That's mind-blowing, because normally it would take me weeks or months or years. And that's what moves them. But of course, you need something else also for them, because then they need to do transactions, they need to attract some users. So some incentives, if they cross that threshold and have some application and just want to scale, some incentives for them that bring back revenue to the network is also very important. And then, lastly, for the validators. Again, validators are there to support the network, to provide security to the network, and so on. What do they need so that they themselves can make a kind of living, can build something, and bring value to the network? Again, if the staking incentives are more significant, larger, then the validators will be able to spend some of that money on ad revenue, on maybe creating some other context so that locally they get more people to buy, to stake, and they have a bigger business. Lastly, because I know that people, whenever I mention these three actors, people come back to me and say, you've not mentioned the users. And I agree. But the users are essentially the people that either are some of these buckets. So users sometimes are just investors, maybe speculators and so on, but they want to be part of the investors. Sometimes they convert into builders. Sometimes they convert even into validators. So we definitely love users, and they usually start as investors, and we very much welcome them. But to conclude, the point here is you need some incentives to move these people in, to get them again excited. Because if you don't have those, then you're not living in a vacuum. There's some competition that will take you from you gradually, the users, the investors, the builders, and so on, just because the flywheel is not spinning faster. So this is why we've learned a lot about the economic side. Mm-hmm. We've looked at what Bitcoin has done, what Ethereum has done, what even Solana has done. And we've looked at what we have that's working very well, where we've done very well, and where we can improve, right? Because there are some lessons that you can improve and add there. And with this, we're probably going to come with governance proposal to discuss, to translate, and so on, and share with the community. But that is all for growth. Like, imagine that we would be right now, and eGold would be at $3,000 per eGold. We would probably not have had this conversation, right? Because all the different issues,
of course,
would be very different. Like, people would just call you from the beach, hey, I'm building this other thing, I'm doing this other thing. We want to unlock that state, but that means that we have to iterate, and iteration looks like this. It's not fun. You just want the result. Everyone wants the results. We ourselves want the result. But after 7 years, we're still here. We're still pushing on the things, and we're close to a kind of milestone with Supernova and what we're discussing right now that I think brings us much closer to the Elrond Genesis in some sense than to anything else.
About this,
please, Kevin. I think Kevin.
Yes, about this proposal, economic proposal. Yes, I want your point of view on this.
Kevin, please.
Of course. I was part of the team who translate the economic papers back in 2020.
Respect, Kevin.
It's a subject that we have read many times, understand. The P model was very sexy back in those days. It was, yes. Wow, no more inflation after 10 years. Awesome. I don't think today that it's still awesome, because we've been living for 5 years, and every anniversary we see validators. I'm speaking as a validator, investor, and user because I'm all of that. And every year we see the revenue getting lower, smaller. Yes, and user investors also see that on first. They are the first to see it because from 30% to today we are about 6%. I think 7%. And we still have 5 years of emission getting lower. And we have seen some, there is no proposal yet officially because nothing is set on paper. But we have seen some proposition where we can got some tail inflation.
Yes.
Where everyone can have a better APR, yet profit from the inflation because they just have to stake gold. And users are free after to compute their rewards to get a bigger share of the network or sell, but it's part of the game. Or, as you said, it's one of the things I think I made the most, invest in other projects, buying tokens, NFTs, create some publicity, open new products. And I think this kind of revenue is a good start to bootstrap against the network. So
to redistribute the ecosystem.
The ecosystem. The more hardcore will probably not sell anything and compound everything, and they grow their part of the network. And I think it's something that bring new users, not only price but also revenue from the network.
Yes. And I should add just a few things. Like if I were to change just one thing in the model that we've created, if I were to not be able to change anything else and only change one thing, I would make it the timeline, the time frame that Bitcoin had. So actually reaching the final point in 100 years.
Yes. Yeah.
Because then the point here is this: people have already understood that even the Bitcoin model has some very, very significant problems.
With security, but during a long time.
Yes, but because it's 100 years in the future, you don't have the problem today, right? Today you don't have the problem. And in the meantime, you can get more adoption, and so on. And with the economics models, it's almost you want two states. You either understand that you need to constantly iterate. You cannot assume that something is final. You close it and then it's done. No, every year, normally macro readjusts. Adoption readjusts. You have some simulation, you have some expectation, but then you re-anchor the model into reality, because otherwise it diverts from reality. And then 5 years into the future, you remember that we had these simulations. You remember in the economics model, we had the first phase, the second phase, the third phase, the fourth phase. At some point, it diverted so much that was the point that normally we should have prompted us, guys, it's clearly not going in the direction that we wanted. So what are the other options? And so if I'm coming back right now, the important point is either set this kind of very clear timeframes at which you evaluate the results, adapt what needs to be adapted, and move in the right direction. At the end of the day, you really want growth, or you do it on 100 years. And then 100 years, you still catch it. Yeah. But then you don't deal with the actual problem. Still, maybe the last point I'll make is, if you look, there's a lot to be learned from Bitcoin, from Solana, from Ethereum, from some of these options. And the most important point is, if something's work exceptional, don't change them, right? You don't want to mess something up that's very good. If something doesn't work, change it in 10 ways until you find something that works, where people are excited and happy again, because this is what you want. And I understand the concern. I understand the difficulty, because it's hard for people to get into the building stage. You want things to work, but I encourage them to look at what we've been doing during the hard times and during the good times. We've not lost our way. We've not went away. In fact, we've been building and building and building, and this is just a different phase of building where we've learned there's some better ways of doing it.
People are concerned, the community, there are concerns in the community about the new proposal. We don't have this proposal yet, but I think people are afraid because we have an aversion to the changement. It's human behavior, and we are attached to the security because it's like Bitcoin. But the difference is the time frame, 10 years or 100 years. And how to make the community confident with a changement, with the if the security can be conserved, maybe with the tail inflations, and in just few words and simple words, why do you think this proposition can put EGLD in a better position to win?
I think the last point you've made is the crucial point. So we are here together because we want EGLD to win. This is why we've built Supernova. This is why we've delivered Andromeda and Barnard. This is why we've built Exportal. This is why we've built all the things in the ecosystem. We've invested in some of the applications that are there. And now we've gone through the pain of actually going to the US and understanding that, for instance, it doesn't matter if we change the economics if we're still just playing in Europe. Let me make it very clear. If we're playing with the same people and it's just us again, playing in the same way, and we don't get new distribution, new people with new capital and new territories, new markets, then it doesn't work. Now, on the other hand, what is the process that should be very simple and straightforward? One, we've delivered some very important milestones. And we're here, and we're doing it together. That's one. Second, we are very close to the biggest milestone since Genesis, and that's coming up. I've been posting every 2 weeks. It's surprising because people, if I don't post 2 weeks, even the progress, people forget it. It's so tense. You can feel it there, but we've been making great progress. Third, any proposal we make is for the good of the network, for the benefit of the different actors, investors, builders, validators, and users. And we will propose it, and it will go to governance. Governance is just this natural process through which we find a consensus, right? There's no point in, let's say, sitting with the fear of something and then letting anxiousness almost get ahead of us. We know we can discuss, we know we can come with ideas, and then if people have some other ideas that are brilliant, they should propose some ideas. They should come with some ideas, because we're very curious to have the conversations, to have this type of open discussions. And what usually, the way to solve, let's say, tension, is the way to solve it also in real life. Whenever you have a tension with a friend or someone, you just go and have a coffee or a wine and have a conversation. Sometimes it's a bit tense and so on, but at the end of the day, you're fine. You see that the dragon is actually not as large as you thought, that you actually imagined too much, maybe let imagination go too far. And at the end of the day, we've If we were at the point where we have not built anything for 7 years, we've not built a network that is really great, we've not done anything of the discussions that I'm making, then it would have been a very different situation. Then you're very justified. Hey guys, these guys have not done anything. They've not built a network when it was thought impossible. They've not built all these other things. And then it's justified to fear, because you have no option. But usually fear comes, and this maybe is just a conclusion to this point, fear comes when you don't have a different alternative readily available. So fear doesn't come when you're a master at something. Suppose you're a blacksmith and you need to fix a sword. I'm just giving this very simple example. You don't get afraid when someone tells you, hey, I have a new sword and we're going to do it and this is going to be the best sword. You only get afraid if you've never touched a sword, you've never heard about the process of blacksmithing, and then everything that can come into your mind is, I think I'm going to die. I'm not sure why I'm going to die, but I think I'm going to die. And so I think economics for many people is almost like blacksmithing. If you've not touched economics, economics seems like this dark art, right? But we are here, we have a very wide community, we're discussing it, and I think it's going to be great. And yeah, just one step at a time. Taking it one step at a time is the way to go.
I have a question from the community about the economy. Is the economic change directly correlated to fundraising, VCs, or you want to make an economic change in hopes of being able to close deals?
It's 100% correlated. So just to say, people have a very different way of playing the game in the US. And I'm stating the very simple thing. So for as long as I'm in the US and I have a lot of power, a lot of doors that I can open, but I don't have a bag from your project, you don't exist. Mm-hmm. I will look at you, I will say, nice, Nicola. I like what I see, but then when you close the door, you don't exist anymore. So it's critical that we do some very simple things that you actually learn in whatever you're doing in life. You learn these simple steps. What are the steps? Well, you need someone to have something that makes them care about your project. Very simple. And so, of course, it is correlated.
Maybe I have two more topics to finish, because it's more than 1 hour. The community is afraid that the arrival of supernova or stablecoins, interoperability, etc., will come maybe too late compared to the end of the cycle forecast, perhaps at the end of this year. We don't know. Don't you think it will be too late? And if you are confident, what gives you this confidence?
So I think my entire life, whenever I had this, I had a crazy idea. The next idea was, too bad I'm too late. So when I started with, discovered Bitcoin in 2012, 2013, I said, wow, this is a brilliant idea. Too bad I'm a bit too late. Then with NAM in 2014, too bad I'm a bit too late. And then with Elrond, when we started Elrond in 2007, good, but I think maybe we're a bit too late. And right now it's 2025 and markets are just opening up. So they're not finalizing, they're just opening up for the first time. All I'm seeing is it's good to have urgency. So you need to do it as fast as you can, but then you also need to embrace the process, to trust the process, to trust that at the end of the day, reality is trying to tell you something, that you've done everything you can, and things will be fine. One way or another. Like, suppose that tomorrow I lose everything I have and so on. Okay, like what can I say? Can I control something there? And it's almost like the fears related to something I cannot control, I'm not moved by. Like if the market tomorrow collapses completely, there will be other problems that will be even larger than ours, right? People will need to eat, will not have to eat. And all I'm saying here is we're just at the start of the real adoption. We've just seen this starting in the US. There's going to be a long process until the entire market is tokenized, until everyone, everywhere is using blockchain. And we want to make sure that we're at that table. Whenever it happens, that we're doing everything within our power for it to come to MultiversX, for MultiversX to be there. So this is why I'm not thinking in, let's say, yes, no, is it late or is it early? I'm thinking in looking at the market right now, it seems very reasonable that whoever joins now has a different perspective than 5 years ago, a different expectation than 5 years ago. And I would almost say to people, and this is not investment advice, this is a much better time to join a project than at any point in time, because the pain, we've sustained the pain. Like all the people in the community, all the people that have been with us, congrats for surviving. It has been a crazy ride. But now I think the people that are coming in will probably look a bit different at the markets and the opportunities and so on. So I'm quite hopeful, but then even more grounded in the milestones that we have. Like if weather is bad, we'll still deliver the milestones. If weather is good, so much better. We'll enjoy it more. We'll seize the opportunity even more. But what we can control is the things that we've built, and we see the market needs more than ever.
Maybe to finish this conversation, I have a particular point about X-Monnaie. I find the situation funny because on one side we had the X-Monnaie of MultiversX and the payment sector with a peer-to-peer solution, and another side we have another X-Money from Elon, and so I only see two possibilities, a partnership or a competition, and I don't know what to think about that. But on the same sector, it's strange. I can't imagine, for example, McDonald's and the fast food sector, two McDonald's. How to manage this?
Yes, this is a good point.
With leadership ambitions, of course, both.
Yes, I think what you're essentially saying is this, that at some point there will be a need for a resolution. So the resolution will either be ending in some partnership or in some war, long-term war. And I think that's a conversation that we're definitely thinking about. But the point is, I think it's much simpler. It's, on the one hand, how fast can we get to a great position in the market, and then everything is negotiable, right? Mm-hmm. That's almost the simple path that's in our control, because that's the simple way we're looking at it.
I heard during last month, during X-Money community town hall, Greg said X-Money is a leader in Europe, and is very confident with that. And at this point, it's a little surprising because we didn't see some products or stablecoin or etc. And there is giant competitors like PayPal or Stripe. So what makes you confident to be the next leader on this sector?
The one maybe misconception here is that when people speak about payments is this one thing. Payments is this 30 things that actually are subcomponents where different people are different leaders. Like PayPal is doing something different than Stripe. Stripe is doing something different than PayPal. Xmoney is doing something different than these two. And the question is, on what are you competing? On what are you leading? And then what are the things that you're bringing new to the table? Because if you're just trying to do something that PayPal did before or something that Stripe does, that's a thing. But as we were discussing before, the space of stablecoins is very, very early. And then it's still very, very sexy. Stablecoins are just one step. Once you're in this fully digital space, tokenization of the different fields that you have in the economy is a monster leap that will literally eat the next 5 to 10 years. You've probably heard Robin Hood saying now, and just think about this. Someone that is not in the crypto space, that does finance in the US, comes and says tokenization is the biggest technology upgrade for finance in the last 20 years. Think a bit why they would say something like that. Does he mean that he will tokenize everything, blah, blah, blah? No, he means just as you looked like at the economy, at the financial space, and you say there's the real estate assets, there's derivatives and so on, there's capital markets and so on, there's all these other different buckets. All of them will gradually be tokenized. Now, you don't need to say that you'll do everything to win. If just one bucket, you become the bridge through which these people come in, you've won the game. This will be so large a shift that you just need to be the right bridge for one of these, and then you can make some more steps and so on. But what I'm sharing is when people look at payments, it's almost this one thing. When they look at the financial space, it's this one thing. No, it's actually 100 components, subcomponents that make the space. And this is why Greg is thinking specifically, we are regulated. We've built this bridge between these two worlds. And then we have something that everyone else wants. Now, the point is getting outside, getting across and convincing the regulator. Notice, the problem here is not the technology, not something we don't have. We have everything. And now we just need to convince the regulator that it's fine to finally push this outside. And that's the challenge here. That's a very different type of challenge than...
So it's not done yet to convince the regulators?
With the regulators, every day is a new day for science, right? So 1%, even with the regulators, because if you try too much, then it's difficult.
Okay. So for me, it's okay. We talked about a lot of topics. If you want to add something, Kevin or Beniamin?
So what I would say is, again, Supernova, the US, new incentives and new distribution, as in ways of tapping a different type of the market that's coming in. That's the simplified view. And I think the next period will feel much more the period, like the period leading to the Elrond Genesis moment. Like getting closer and closer where people see something that they don't see in some other places. That's why we're pushing, and also why we're excited despite the different hurdles that are very obvious and that we very much understand and appreciate. But the point is another step today, another step tomorrow. And then at the end of the week, you just see that some things add up. Stopping here, Kevin, maybe you wanted to add something for the French community.
Yes, maybe. So a lot of people can. It's an open network, you know. So anyone who can want to get involved can participate. So it's more an invitation to the community to raise the hand, say, I can help, I can do this, I can do that. Maybe we can not hear everyone because there is a lot of noise, but it's up to you to get the network. Be constructive, yes.
And I would maybe also add at this point to your point, it's very simple to take someone down. Whenever something is built, it's 10 times simpler to tear it apart, to say, hey, what you're doing is super shitty. You've made this very small mistake. Your video is super shitty. Please don't do these videos anymore. And I think this is how some people reason, because the only way they can get up is to tear someone down, to break them to pieces. And I'll just state this. Whenever someone has this very loud voice, they're super confident of everything they're saying. My point is not what they're saying is, show me something you've done. Simple. If you've not done anything and you're still living in your mother's basement, then please take the confidence level a bit more adjusted to that level. If you've done something, of course, I want to always learn, but that I feel that type of spirit is what builders have, right? Builders, once they've tried to build something, a lot of humbleness is learned through that process. For as long as you're in your head, you're a genius. Like we are all geniuses. In our head, it's only geniuses. When you go outside, this doesn't sound good. This is not understood. Everyone else is really bad, blah, blah, blah. So I'm encouraging everyone to maybe take advice from the people they want to become like. If you see someone and you say, this guy I respect, he's doing this, he's doing that, this is how he's contributing, I want to actually have a conversation with him. If you see someone that you never respect, would never go for a coffee, would never have a conversation with, then better stay away from these other things as well. And this is why I've also engaged with you guys and so on, because I think there are difficult conversations always. It's fine to have difficult conversations. It's important to communicate, but to have that minimum of common sense, of self-awareness.
Find solution. If you are enough intelligent to find the problem, you can find the solution.
Yes, I hope. I hope that if you're enough intelligent to find the problem, the question is, can you also find the solution? Because if you can, then much respect. If you can't, then I think we got a lot of people who find a problem for every solution.
Absolutely.
And then for the French community, I also say, this is completely not into blockchains. I sometimes wonder how France would look today if Napoleon was around. Just this random question, because he seemed from so different a world that he would not only make the revolution, but also rebuild that country in a way where you'd feel you're conquering the world. Not sure if French people love Napoleon anymore, but I hope they do.
There is a different point of view, like on all subjects.
100%. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe some love for Napoleon still exists. Okay, thanks a lot, guys. And a really great conversation. Hope the community at least enjoys it a bit.
I hope too.
Same.